All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Today is a very different day for 2019. In fact, all year we have not seen a day like this. In what 4 months, 4 months in a week, we have not seen a single day like this in the market. And we saw quite a few of them last year, 2018. But this is the first that we are seeing this type of day here in 2019. And, what does it suggest? It suggests that, risks are rising and rising dramatically. Out there. I'm not going to get into the trade war drama and what report said what and all of that. That kind of stuff keeps coming out. And bottom line, nobody really knows anything. So it's one of those where it's increasing some of the confusion in the market out there, but by a different type of day. What do I mean? Well, we had the market yesterday with a pretty big rally from the open. Right, a pretty big rally. Average true range still rising on the market, and then right as the market closed, S&P futures dropped, gave up the gains from the last 3 hours, and so that puts fund managers, that puts traders on edge going into the open here today, and the market tries to erase that sell here overnight, but by the open of the market, it's not able to. Then we get the market open, and the first ticks are up. The first ticks are up. We've seen that before, but within a very short time period, the opening price gets wiped out, and it gets wiped out on monster volume that we haven't seen all year. There's not a single day where we've seen this much volume in the first 30 minutes of the market. Then what happens? Well, here on my chart, it looks like this gradual, drop down, but there's some things in here that are very, very different. How many points was this rally? How many points was this rally? Right? How many points was this rally? The market has now erased 3 10-point rallies today. We've talked about over the last several months these 10-point sell-offs, right? We get these 10-point sell-offs and the market buys them up. 10-point sell-offs, market buys it up. We are now seeing 10-point rallies getting sold. The algorithms have switched. They're selling the 10-point rallies. And, we're watching another 10-point rally get erased right here, right now. That's one big switch, right? Where we're seeing the selling of rallies. Let's face it, 3 10-point rallies. We haven't had a lot of days in 2019 that have had 3 10-point rallies in it, right? That's not something that's been very common. But we're also selling them off. The volume element has been huge, but there's no bottoming or topping volume that has come into the market. The consistent volume per minute averaging at about 5,000. It's been a long time since we've seen that here in the market. We are seeing that here today. Compare the volumes today to yesterday. Nada que ver, right? In Spanish there's that phrase, nada que ver. Not even close. Just nothing, not even comparable to yesterday's volume. Significantly greater volume here today. What about the types of stocks getting sold? Are we just selling, we're just selling the worst of the worst? I mean, it's one thing to see FedEx down. FedEx is a $140 stock. When you put it all together, it's a $140 stock. So, market doesn't have to go down for FedEx to drop, right? So let's go take a look. I mean, are the FedExes of the world falling here? Let's see here if that's going to let me in. It doesn't want to let me in. All right, we're going to go to. We're just going to come in here into stock or into Thinkorswim, and I'm just going to put this on a daily chart here. But here's FedEx. FedEx is selling off. FedEx is down $5 here today, breaking into a new short-term low. We're seeing some of the stocks that deserve to drop, fall, right? But what are we seeing with some of the quality out there? Some of the biggest quality out there, we are seeing the quality get hammered today. Adobe erasing yesterday's gain. We're seeing Apple erase yesterday's gain. We are seeing whatever stock you want to talk about in terms of that kind of quality. They're erasing yesterday's gains, yesterday's reversals, and doing so in a big way. We have the yield curve, which is getting flatter and inverting further here on the day as bond yields once again fall. We are seeing one of the biggest up days in the VIX here for 2019. So we are seeing mass change all around the market here today. And here's the VIX right here. Let's go since January, right? This is the biggest up day in the VIX of the entire year, and it's pushing the VIX into levels not seen since early January. It's a very different day in the market. It is one where we are just seeing price action that is just extremely different. It's not dip. It's not buy the dip price action. It's not price action that suggests, hey, you know what, this is over shortly. You know what, go ahead and buy it. It's just a little blip in the radar market overreacting. We're seeing very different action. This is very bear market-esque or leading into bear market type of action. And it's action that we haven't seen since last year, before some of the big bad sell-offs came. Now, with what's going on, great. There's always, anytime something like this happens, there's always an issue. There's always something. There's always an unknown, right? Show me a market with no unknowns, and it's absolutely flat. There's always going to be unknowns. There are always unknowns in the market. That is consistent. That doesn't go away. How is the trade war going to resolve? What's going to happen this week? What's the next piece? And all of that. That's the constant of the market, right? And it's what creates some of this turbulence. I mentioned this morning that some of this turbulence is buyable if it hits oversold territory. We're not close yet. We're not close. We would need to see the market sell off some more, gap down tomorrow to start even hinting at some oversold conditions. We're also not overbought, so we're not looking at any kind of real extremes here. We are just looking at price action that's different from yesterday, that's different from anything we've seen here this year, and that is likely to say something about what happens going forward, depending on how some of the news shakes out. Now, earlier today, I posted a video from last year into chat. I posted it not for the market commentary. I posted it for the day trading commentary, and just a little bit of kind of quick day trade strategy there. Just using the minute chart on the market, the Bollinger Bands, and the stochastics. So kind of very simple read, very simple plays. I posted it because it's very applicable today. Very applicable as the ATR on the market continues to rise. And if we continue to see the ATR on the market rise, that type of thing or that type of kind of day trade will become more and more effective. It doesn't really work all that well when the market's barely moving. But when we have the ATR on the rise, when we have these 10-point swings in the market, it is significantly more effective. And it's the strategy that I mostly use when I'm day trading some of the options. I used it a little bit here this morning for a trade, but it's just something there if you'd like to take a look and look at a scalp a little bit in the market. A very effective way to go out and to do that. Is this a market to start setting up long-term positions? Yeah, look, if you're incredibly bullish and you think, well, you know what, Alibaba, this is a $300 stock in 5 years, sure, go buy it today. Right? Nothing wrong with that. Go buy it today. You just have to understand the risk. I mean, the risk is for much further sell-off. That risk is there. That risk is not going away, and there's no upside confirmation on, a lot of these stocks now that they've broken below the lows from yesterday, many of them starting to break last week's lows. So with that element, you're not talking about an ideal buy point from a daily chart and trend and moving average standpoint. You're just kind of bottom fishing, and let's face it, you could be right. When we get a piece of news, it could switch and the market's up 100 points tomorrow, right? That could happen. Likely, I don't think so. But obviously there are many that disagree. So it's something you can step into. But if you're going to step into it, understand the conditions for what they are. And if you're going to step into it, you can't look at it and go, well, oh, my stock's down tomorrow. Did that change? Does that change how you look at it? If you're going to go buy Micron today and think to yourself, if it's down tomorrow, the trade has changed, well, you're probably not looking at it right here today. You need something a little bit longer term, a little more cushion there. For it. We are seeing some stocks hold up really well. The Disneys of the world holding up extremely well. Some of the high yield names like an AT&T holding up very well today. We're seeing, just some of the tech not get sold off as hard, but there's not an overwhelming group that you look at and you say, wow, this thing is really performing well here on the day. 42 advancers. We haven't seen this all year, where there's 42 advancers, 460, decliners in the S&P today. It's just a very different day in the market compared to the rest of the year. And, the average true range continues to rise. We know when the average true range continues to rise, the path of least resistance is lower. Anytime the market goes lower, it's never smooth. It is always very choppy, and some of the biggest rallies happen, during some of these corrective or bear market type phases here. As far as the market vibe goes, I haven't looked at it yet here today. I haven't pulled it because the closing value is what matters. What it reads right here, right now, doesn't really matter. Right? What it reads at the close does matter. I suspect that it's pretty close to a bearish trigger, just looking at kind of where things are and how things are. We'll see what the volume elements look like, but I suspect the volume elements have turned bearish, which is one of the reasons why I'm suspecting a bearish trigger. But we will see how that unfolds here this afternoon. I was asked earlier how this will affect the upcoming challenge. And, I understand the question. I understand where that's coming from. But, today's just another day in the market, right? Today's another day in the market. It's one of those where, yes, it's the first day like this in 2019. But, as far as the challenge goes, as far as the algorithm goes and all of that, we're just going to run it. All right, just going to run it. And, a lot of the testing for the algorithm happened during 2018. And, some of the finalized testing for the algorithm was happening there during 2018, during some of the choppiest periods. So, it's not something where I go, oh, well, market conditions switched. Oh, this is, now we have to, no. It is what it is. We're going to go out and go for it. I like that we're seeing some of this, some of this chop, some of this chaos. I did make the comment earlier this morning that, some of it may mean we don't get a signal. We don't get as many signals right away. But I could be dead wrong there. Depending on how the market moves, depending on how the various stocks move, I could be absolutely dead wrong there. And just it will depend on, obviously, what happens as we go forward here throughout the rest of the week. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a great one, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.